I do think Bitcoin is going to succeed and reach those levels much faster than most people, even in the industry, believe. Again, going back to, if you look at the chart of the national debt and monetary base growth globally, like it's the growth slope is getting higher and higher. And going back to the point that people don't understand exponentials when they're living through them, I think we are living through an exponential period of debt growth that people really haven't internalized, most people, yet. And I think we're getting to exponential territory. And once you get to that territory, things happen pretty quickly.
I would agree, by the way. So I don't follow, the critics' argument here. I just think, as you said, it's a way of thinking about time in general, right? Like it's also a bit this short-term thinking that, okay, this was the proposition. Why isn't it that right now? And then I always say, well, how many ideas are being released on the internet every day, and this thing that was released 15 years ago has survived. It's the strongest computer network in the world. Like all these things.
We're beginning to see Bitcoin bleed into and create bridges to the traditional financial system. And so I think this cycle, one of the big products that we're going to see is come to maturity and begin to proliferate more than it has to date is Bitcoin as super collateral and structured credit products that act as a bridge and a way to de-risk credit products that people are comfortable with. I think the whole misnomer that Bitcoin isn't a medium of exchange now is just completely overblown. It is. I mean, predominantly, objectively, people recognize the asymmetry of the potential that exists right now. Bitcoin's at a $1.4 trillion market cap, and many of us believe it could hit 200, 300 trillion.
Bitcoin is about to overtake the fiat currency faster than anyone expected. Marty Bent, a Bitcoin advocate, breaks down why this might be closer than we think. If you're curious about Bitcoin's power to reshape the economy and give you control over your money, you're in the right place. Let's dive into this game-changing future.
Framing for Bitcoin is positive. It's like, hey, you have agency over your monetary life. You have the ability to participate in this distributed network, whether that's simply by accumulating Bitcoin and holding it or contributing to the open source software project that enables it to run. And there are bad things going on in the incumbent financial system. The debt situation is pretty terrible. The debasement of the currency is pretty consistent and likely to continue. However, we do have this tool, this safety net, this release valve, this rocket ship, whatever you want to refer to it as, that can lessen the blow of the inevitable deterioration of this fiat system that you came up in. And I think framing it that way, where you have a way out, and not only do you have a way out, you can build a much better world via an economy built on Bitcoin. And with that in mind, like, the deterioration of the fiat system is inevitable. It's happening. It has been happening. It was happening before Bitcoin. Bitcoin is a direct response to the deterioration of that system and the inability to trust the people controlling that system. And so you should be thankful that this thing exists, because without it, the prospects of a better future would be significantly lower than they are right now. Bitcoin takes another step forward roughly every 10 minutes. So you can literally point, and you don't have to wait.
Yeah, it's walking.
You don't have to wait 2 months between FOMC meetings and the press conferences they give to try to understand where Bitcoin is between that. It's like, no, you just get TX info verify, or get TX verify info. And yeah, it's right there on your node. You can verify it at any given point in time. And this goes back to what I was saying earlier. Like, we have the data and the information. They've proclaimed things many times across many years, thinking that certain actions, or not actions, but certain things would materialize based off of their policy movements, never materialized. In fact, the economy suffered worse because of those actions that they thought were going to make the economy and the financial system better. There's compounding risk and hiding risk in areas that bubble up and create these liquidity crises from time to time. And they're happening more frequently as they manipulate the Frankenstein more and more year in and year out. And yeah, that's what I think people, particularly those who may be listening and are not, I don't want to say economically literate, but aren't paying attention to what these central bankers are doing, and have that question in your mind, like, why should I trust these Bitcoin guys versus these central bankers who are in these? I think the whole misnomer that Bitcoin isn't a medium of exchange now is just completely overblown. It is. I mean, predominantly, objectively, people recognize the asymmetry of the potential that exists right now. Bitcoin's at a $1.4 trillion market cap, and many of us believe it could hit 200, 300 trillion dollars. And so, yeah, like, it would make sense to hold on to as much Bitcoin as you can between now and then. However, it does not prevent anybody from using Bitcoin as a medium of exchange. People do every day. I do. And right now it's happening at the edge cases where at TFTC, we have contractors that help us out with post-production, and they live in countries that with bad banking systems, and even if they do have good banking systems, the fee to send money across the border is pretty egregious. And so I pay some of our contractors in Bitcoin because it is a faster and objectively cheaper way to get money to them for providing my company a service. And the point I'm making here is like Bitcoin already is a medium of exchange. It's just somewhat of an edge use case due to the fact that most people holding Bitcoin are looking at that asymmetric upside and saying, I'm going to hold, but it doesn't preclude you from spending it. Many people do. Yeah, I think Bitcoin already is a medium of exchange. It's a unit account already for many people, but predominantly as it stands today, where we are on the path towards achieving the goals of a multi-$100 trillion market cap, most people are using it as a savings vehicle. That's perfectly fine. And I think slowly but surely over time, these edge cases will come closer to the core of Bitcoin's, or excuse me, of individuals' usage of Bitcoin. And it's just going to take time. And it, obviously, when the liquidity within the Bitcoin market is hundreds of trillions of dollars, people are going to be more willing to part ways with Bitcoin to pay for goods and services because they're not worried about the upward potential from those levels is significantly lower than it is from these levels. And then the other factor in this is how quickly is the incumbent fiat system evolving. If you have a quick, rapid debasement of these fiat currencies and people literally cannot coordinate economic activity to provide goods and services to the market, they'll want to adopt a better money on their balance sheet and use that as a treasury asset. Ultimately is used to reinvest in their business so that they can coordinate economic activity to deliver goods and services efficiently with more certainty. I do think Bitcoin is going to succeed and reach those levels much faster than most people, even in the industry, believe. Again, going back to, if you look at the chart of the national debt and monetary base growth globally, like the growth slope is getting higher and higher. And going back to the point that people don't understand exponentials when they're living through them, I think we are living through an exponential period of debt growth that people really haven't internalized, most people, yet. And I think we're getting to exponential territory. And once you get to that territory, things happen pretty quickly.
In the first half, Marty Bent lays out why Bitcoin's fixed monetary policy could make it the backbone of a new, stable financial system. With a market cap potentially growing to hundreds of trillions, Bitcoin offers a secure store of value and an alternative to fiat money. Plus, Bitcoin gives people true control over their wealth, bypassing government interference and enabling financial sovereignty. And with countries adopting Bitcoin-backed loans and mortgages, the impact on traditional finance is undeniable. Stay tuned, because Marty will dive into how governments and financial institutions might react to Bitcoin's rapid rise, and what it means for you. If you want to stay ahead, don't miss it.
But I think we're beginning to see not only it's beginning to mature the usage of Bitcoin as collateral in traditional structured credit products. And so we're beginning to see Bitcoin bleed into and create bridges to the traditional financial system. And so I think this cycle, one of the big products that we're going to see is come to maturity and begin to proliferate more than it has to date is Bitcoin as super collateral and structured credit products that act as a bridge and a way to de-risk credit products that people are comfortable with. So Unchained's a great example. Down the hall, they have their Bitcoin lending desk. You put Bitcoin up as collateral, you get cash back. You have a well-collateralized loan. As long as you're paying that back, you're going to get your Bitcoin back at the end of the day. That is beginning to mature. Fold going public. They've announced that they would like to offer Bitcoin mortgages, where you have a mortgage, which is a credit product, and within the mortgage, you have your real estate, which is part of the equity of the within the loan, and then you have Bitcoin that you put in it too. And that acts as a sort of hedging strategy within that credit product. Dump their houses, and you own a house with a Bitcoin-backed mortgage. You're somewhat de-risked because even if the underlying value of your house is going down, you have Bitcoin in that loan, and that Bitcoin's going up, and sort of evens out the negative effect of the depreciating value of the real estate. And so that timing, I think, is perfect for that, particularly if we're going into a bull market. We've established that Bitcoin is $1 trillion market. I think that will go up an order of magnitude 10, 20, 30 trillion this cycle, potentially, or within the next 10 years. And at that point, that's a pretty stable market. I think we'll go higher than that, but I think we're just working through the order of operations of how you get to this end state of Bitcoin being not only the reserve currency of the world, but the day-to-day currency that people use to buy their goods and services and operate throughout the economy. The beauty of Bitcoin too, whether or not you develop the humility and the accountability necessary to operate within an economy run on a Bitcoin standard, like the market will force it on you eventually. Like I said, like these credit products, I think many people are overlooking them now, but as they continue to develop a track record, if we look back 5 years, 10 years, we look back and look at the performance of these particular credit products, I am pretty confident, supremely confident, that it's going to be very obvious to people that it is. And those funds and the individuals who took advantage of those products are going to benefit massively. And that's when, again, going back to track record, that's when the benchmark begins to materialize and people are forced to benchmark themselves against this performance. And particularly if you're a money manager, the people giving you the money to manage are going to look at it and be like, how the hell did you miss this boat? And that'll be a forcing function for, all right, we got to figure this out.
Marty Bent paints a compelling picture of a future where Bitcoin is more than an asset. It's the very foundation of a more open, decentralized economy. If these ideas resonate with you, consider where you see Bitcoin going in the next few years. The world is watching as Bitcoin's influence grows, and the potential impact on fiat currencies could be historic. Stick around, hit that like button if this perspective on Bitcoin's future gets you thinking, and make sure to subscribe for more insights from the top minds in the crypto space.